Today we'll be discussing the protracted warfare by General Giap. Question: Giap's strategy of protracted warfare played a crucial role in the defeat of both the French and the Americans in Vietnam. Explain the strategy and mechanism of the protracted war. The enemy will pass slowly from the offensive to the defensive. The blitzkrieg will transform itself into a war of duration. And this war of the attrition will be very hard on France, even if it should eventually wear her down. We see Giap's assessment of French military strategy in the First Indochina War reflects his understanding of the nature of the protracted warfare. He anticipated that the French, despite their initial advantages, would struggle to sustain a prolonged conflict in Vietnam, ultimately leading to their defeat. Protracted warfare, as employed by General Giap during the war against the French and the war against Americans, is a strategy that emphasizes the use of time and attrition to wear down a more powerful, technologically superior adversary. Giap's approach towards the warfare was influenced by various factors, to include his study of the military history or Marxist Leninist ideology, the zeal of nationalism, and the specific circumstances of Vietnam's struggle for independence. He understood that Vietnam, as a smaller and less technologically advanced nation, would not hope to defeat a conventional military force like France or United States through direct confrontation alone. Giap employed a combination of guerrilla tactics, propaganda, political mobilization, regular warfare to deplete the enemy's military potential and ultimately breaking the enemy's will to fight. This strategy relied on the Vietmins' intimate knowledge of the local terrain, their ability to blend in with the civil population, ability to take casualties, and their resilience in the face of overwhelming firepower. Protracted warfare involved a long term commitment to the struggle, with the understanding that victory would not come quickly or easily. Giap was willing to accept significant casualties and setbacks in pursuit of the ultimate goal of national liberation. He recognized that longer the conflict dragged, the more unsustainable it would become for the colonial or the foreign power involved. Several key mechanisms involved in Giap's strategy of protracted warfare are listed below. Break down the enemy's will. By employing guerrilla tactics and avoiding large scale decisive battles, Giap sought to gradually wear down the morale and will of the enemy forces. The constant threat of ambushes, hit and run attacks, and sabotage made it difficult for the French and later the Americans to secure control over Vietnamese territory and establish stable supply lines. Attrition. Giap understood that Vietnam could not match the technological and material resources of the adversaries. So he aimed to compensate this disparity through attrition by inflicting steady casualties on enemy and maintaining pressure over a prolonged period. Giap sought to create a situation where cost of continued military engagement became politically unsustainable for the colonial or foreign powers involved. Garnering popular support. Giap's strategy involved not only military tactics but also political and social mobilization. The Viet Minh and later the Viet Cong worked to gain support from the Vietnamese population, rallying them behind the cause of the national liberation. This grassroots support provided the guerrilla forces with the intelligence, recruits, logistical assistance, further complicated the enemy's effort to surpass the insurgency. International diplomacy. Giap and his Vietnamese communist leaders skillfully leveraged international diplomacy to garner support for their cause and isolate their adversaries. They appealed to the anti colonial sentiments, particularly during the era of decolonization following the World War II, and secure assistance from countries like China and Soviet Union. Exploiting terrain. The rugged terrain of Vietnam, with its dense jungles, mountainous regions, and intricate network of rivers and swamps, favored the tactics of guerrilla warfare. Giap capitalized on the geography of land to launch ambushes, establish hidden bases, and evade larger enemy forces. Adaptability and resilience. Giap and his forces demonstrated remarkable adaptability and resilience throughout the conflict. They adjusted their tactics in response to the changing circumstances and learned from their mistakes and maintained their determination despite heavy losses. So, overall, we see Ziab's strategy of protracted warfare exploited the vulnerabilities of his more powerful adversaries while capitalizing on the strength of his own forces and Vietnamese people's determination for the independence. Thank you.